Hello. Are we good? Excellent. Can everybody move towards the middle of the rows, please, so that late people have somewhere to sit?
What's my job then?
All right, we're going to get started, just about on time. So, the first talk we have this afternoon, we have the wonderful Harald, who wants to talk about the growth of his banana.
Thank you. I haven't even done anything yet, so thank you very much. I'm Sophia. So first of all, I've been asked to come dressed as a banana, so that's what I'm doing. I am a banana. Hold on. Banana shaped. Okie dokes. Let's get the technology. There we are. Okay, bonjour. My name is Harald. I'm not French at all, but bonjour is a lovely word, so there's that. I am a KDE developer, and you might know me from projects such as Dr. Conky or FileLight or what have you. And I'm doing KDE Linux. And before that, I've also done other distributions, so I kind of know what I'm talking about, I hope at least. So, what is KDE Linux? Let's recap 2024. There was Project Banana. I started working on it in early April, I think. Then there was Academy, and at Academy we had the big reveal. It's going to be KDE Linux. So what is KDE Linux? Well, it's an operating system made by KDE. It employs next-gen technologies, has a reliable and immutable core, and easy rollback. And I think that last point, Nate absolutely adores this last point, and I do too. Being able to confidently update, and if something goes wrong, you can just roll back is just magic. But you'll have to see it yourself. I'm very tempted now. I'm very tempted. So what I want to talk about is the banana growth cycle. So how do we create bananas, right? Bananas do not grow on trees, as we know. They grow on KDE servers. So let's look at what we've grown. We'll look at the past and the present and the future, of course. And it all begins with planting. Well, actually, it begins a bit before that, but that's the boring part, so we're not going to talk about that. We're talking about planting that happened at Academy last year. And I think it went super successfully. Who agrees? Okay, very good. Did you all not watch the talk? Who watched last year's talk? Okay, about half. Okay, so I actually need to explain this a bit more, I think. So, KDE Linux, the motivation is kind of, I want to have a system that I can put on the PC of my family and not have to care anymore. I don't want tech support. I don't want to play tech support. I don't want to have calls in the middle of the night. I cannot print, or I cannot scan, or there's an update notification. I don't know what to do with it. I don't want any of that. So that's where KDE Linux sort of comes in, is I want a system that just works. Secondly, I need a system for me that just works. And that's, again, where KDE Linux comes in, where all of these immutable things and rollback stuff comes in and helps me develop on a stable machine, more or less stable anyway. And that's KDE Linux. So at Academy, I planted the seedling, got lots of positive feedback. I know Eike was very excited. Where's Eike? Ah, there he is. Hello. You were very excited, so which excited me, right? Like, positive feedback is good. Okay. So once we have planted our little seedling, it starts growing and spreading its leaves, flying away on the wind or something. And what happened was the initial refactoring stage. Now, being turned towards the future, we removed X11 as like one of the first things. Indeed, woo. We moved the binary builds into their own pipeline, did a whole bunch of polishing, reduced the size of the image a bit. It's now 5-ish gigabytes, which is still a lot, but better than 7 or 8. And then comes the flowering stage. I'm not sure what that is. So I need to mention it because it kind of leads into blooming, which is, of course, oh, hold on. This is an old-time classic. If you know what this is, then cheer. Oh, it's gorgeous. Perfect. That's what a banana flower looks like. Who has seen a banana flower before? Yeah, that's what it looks like, right? And then it means all hands on deck. Does anyone know their banana lingo? What could a hand be? The bunch of bananas, it's called a hand, because it looks like a hand. Now guess what a finger is? Right, the individual banana. So it means after the bloom, it starts spreading its hands. And for us, that was contributors coming in, which was super exciting. People joining in, helping develop, helping testing, helping a lot with project management. Nate was super active, thank you for that. And eventually, a fruit starts to grow. We did a great transition from just ButterFS with lots of overlays to ButterFS with an ArrowFS, which is a read-only file system. It's much simpler than the previous setup. We call it root file system version 2. And yeah, simplicity is king. And it's also part of our reset story. And I'll get into that a bit. We also established the Etsy factory, which is also part of this reset story. So let me elaborate. When a user breaks their system, what do? They cry, yes. Complain, yes. What do they do next because nobody listens to their complaints? Yeah. Yes, they reinstall their distro. And that's where our factory reset comes in. We don't want them to reinstall the distro. That's silly. We don't want them to lose their data. What we want to do is throw away etc and var and then spin up a new system out of thin air. Well, not exactly thin air. It's going to be out of user. And that's kind of where these components come in. The ArrowFS, which contains the user directory, and the Etsy factory that creates an Etsy out of the data in user. That doesn't sound exciting, but I swear to you, it's going to be so exciting. Then we did a banana split. Now, I'm not sure what a banana and a banana is, but... So the banana split was our great divergence, I guess. It was leaving the old behind and establishing the new. The banana split was an epoch system for our updates. You can see why it's called a banana split. The old version gets left behind, we split, and we have a new version. Banana split. So now we have a fruit. Next thing that comes is bagging, which is to say we froze for a bit. Just a day or two, where I didn't break anything. So we wouldn't have any blemishes on our bananas. In real life, they actually do this. They put a bag over the banana so insects don't come and pick at the bananas. Makes a lot of sense. And that leads to harvest. We now have fruits. Can I get a drum roll? No, more. KDE Linux Alpha. Thank you so much for indulging me. So yes, today marks the day where we officially declare KDE Linux Alpha stage quality. Before it has been very rough sailing at times, but we now have a lot of pieces in place that allow us to move forward towards a stable release. And so today marks Alpha Day. We also have a swanky new website. I hope it's up already under kdelinux.org. Net is checking right now, typing vigorously. It's up, perfect. And what comes next is the ripening. Because you see, a banana usually gets harvested when it's green. So is our banana. It's in alpha stage, isn't it? So it's very green. What do we have? Well, we have daily builds, we have Git builds, we have Flatpaks, we have confident updating because of this rollback system that I've explained. And I cannot understate how important these pieces are. So by daily having Git builds, our base system for Plasma is basically always on Git master right now, which means as a developer, I can build whatever piece I need without having to build the entire stack. So say I want to work on KInfoCenter, I just clone KInfoCenter and build KInfoCenter, or KDE Builder it, or whatever tool you might use. And this is huge for developers, so you absolutely should check it out. We have Delta updates in the pipeline. This is actually a super exciting system on a technical level, but I don't think I'll go into that. Maybe I will. No. So downloads get split into chunks. We have like this huge 5 GB raw file image, right? And then we split it up into chunks, and each individual chunk gets either downloaded from the internet or used from a previously installed version of the system. Which means updates can be gigabytes per second. Gigabytes. Amazing. Then we also have local link updates in the pipeline, which is kind of the same system, but spread out throughout the network. If you've used the Steam Deck or have Steam on multiple computers in your home network, they might share downloads between each other. I think Windows also does something very similar. And that is what we're working on as well. And it's about as fast as your local network goes. And I have a prototype at home. It's just superb. Like these two pieces combined, the Delta downloads and the local link, means you basically update in the blink of an eye. Just, whew. We're working on Banana Pack, or at least exploring it, which is a bit stressing the boundaries and the constraints and the dogma of Flatpak. So one of the prototypes that I have is Plasma, the entire thing, running from a Flatpak. Not in a Flatpak, but from a Flatpak. So the way this works is we basically build a Flatpak, we spin up the Flatpak, but then take the namespace, the chroot, if that is a more familiar term, of that Flatpak and run software in it. Which again sounds boring, but it's super exciting when you see it in practice. We are working on the Obstsalat. Now, Obstsalat is one of our favorite words. It's German, and it means fruit salad, because there are more pieces to the operating system than just the operating system itself, right? We want to have this rollback system. We want to have a backup system. We want to have an initial setup system. All these pieces, they contribute to what an operating system is, but they aren't necessarily part of the operating system work. And yeah, you see, that's what's to do, so we need you, each and every one of you. You need to buy it, use it, break it, fix it. I guess the fixing part is the important one. And I've said this last year, and it's true today more than ever. This needs to be a product by us, but also one for us. If we don't use this product, then it's kind of meaningless, because we are the ones in charge of making Plasma, right? So Plasma needs to work great on KDE Linux. We are the ones in charge of making KDE Connect, so KDE Connect needs to work great on KDE Linux. As part of this, we have a BOF, well, 3 of them. On Monday, there's the Obstsalat BOF, where we are talking immutable distros and whatnot. Then we have a general KDE Linux BOF on Tuesday, and on Thursday, whatever is left over. Aleš and I are also hosting a live stream on Twitch every other Sunday or so at 6 Central European time. Maybe check us out. We do talk KDE Linux and Discover and Plasma and whatever else comes up. And yeah, help us shape the future. If you join now, you get a banana. No, I'm serious, you get a banana. Who wants a banana? No, I'm serious. Who wants a banana? And it's a green banana. Come on up here, get a banana. That is a hand of, yeah, well, you're not getting the entire hand of the banana, is it? So who wants a banana? David wanted a banana? Yeah, you have to install it if you take the banana, obviously. It can be a VM, as long as you install KDE Linux.
Thank you.
Who else? Who else? Come on, don't be shy. I have more bananas. These are not the old bananas. What's that? Yeah, so it is alpha stage, and well, so that's kind of the thing, right? It doesn't really break. We have multiple versions installed of the system. So like you install version 1, and then you update to 2, you get 2 of them. And if version 2 is broken for whatever reason, in whatever way, you can just roll back to version 1 and use that until 2 is fixed. Easy. So it is alpha stage, but it's confident alpha, I guess. Do you want a banana? Oh, I am sorry. I knew that was going to happen. I'm sorry. Are you fine? Very soft banana. Very good. Banana? No more bananas. I still have more bananas. Seriously, guys. You don't believe me? We have more bananas. Nico, you want to install KDE Linux. I know it.
Yes, but I hate bananas.
Oh, yes. Have a banana. No, Nate gets a banana. He's already part of the team. Who else wants a banana? This is... Yeah. So why is it not called banana? Yeah, well, because it's a bit of a silly name. It makes for a good laugh, but yeah, it's a silly name. It was kind of our code name while we were working on it, and it kind of stuck. Such a silly name. The real code name. So the real code name was System DOS, because there are so many pieces of System D inside the system. I have 2 more bananas. We'll start with questions in a bit. If it's a serious question, if you want to ask why the banana is still green, then I've had it. Yeah, in a bit. 2 more bananas. It's the most walking I've done in a talk ever. Carl, have a banana. Why does nobody like bananas? I'm out of bananas. There is a thank you. So now we can get started on questions. Thank you.
We only have one microphone. Okay, so who has a question?
I have one question. I do have one question about the KDE Linux distro. I'm just curious, is there a reason you've chose Arch Linux as the basis for KDE Linux?
Good question. It doesn't really matter is the answer. So we basically take the base system, make it into an image, and then that's like the base system, right? It's one thing. So what base distro we use is kind of irrelevant. Arch seemed attractive because they have very little patching going on and it's always up to date. Who else?
I have seen 8 take a banana. Does that mean we're gonna get banana BSD sometime soon?
So when you say we only take the base image from Arch Linux, can you expand on what the base image means, right? So is that the kernel or the kernel and the libc or the kernel and like how much of the, so you mentioned 5 gigabytes, right? So how much of those 5 gigabytes are the base image and how much is our stuff?
So the base image is the kernel. It is most of the middleware, so like network manager, blues, that sort of thing, pipewire, cups. Unfortunately, I want to get rid of it. And drivers, of course, so the NVIDIA driver is like 1 gigabyte of that. But for me, the goal sort of is that we shrink this down as much as possible. That's why I said that cups ideally shouldn't be on the base image. It should be a container of some sort. So the base image is as large as it needs to be. Okay, who else?
So my first question has already been answered, so it's based on Arch. And you said you have Git builds, some other builds. Did you think about creating Docker or Podman images? Do they exist already? Do they exist already? No. Maybe I could take a banana. I could help.
No more bananas. More questions? Jesus. I'm going here because I'm lazy.
What is the developer experience? For example, I contribute regularly to Qt, and I want to test my Qt with other applications. Or do I do that with Banana?
Using KDE Builder. Does that answer your question? You can build everything you can build with KDE Builder. And so ideally, we have everything you need for a KDE application in the base image. The things that are not there, you can add through, for example, a systemd sys extension, which is basically an overlay that gets placed over user, where you can put additional things in, or different versions.
So one of the things that happens quite often when you do upgrades is there's a new version of some etc file, and then the user has modified something. So how do you handle that? You just never give, okay, why is it cutting off? So yeah, I think you got the question, like how do you handle a new version of a base etc file? And yeah.
So there are two scenarios to consider. One is the file has not been changed, in which case we just overwrite it. That's actually what the etc factory does. The etc factory walks through all the files, creates checksums for them, and if the checksums match whatever we think it should be, then it gets replaced. The other case is the user has changed something, then we don't touch it. So it's basically on the application author to make sure that config files get migrated or whatever, or a different configuration file altogether, that sort of thing.
Cool. More questions? Anything from the chat? No. Any more questions?
Other than installing KDE Linux, what kind of, how can the rest of the KDE community support that project right now?
So I think the biggest thing is installing it and trying to do whatever you usually do. Nate has written a lot of documentation on how to do development like he does it, but if you go in with your workflows and the tools that you want and figure out, does it hurt very much to bend to an immutable base, and how can we change that? That's probably the biggest point that everyone here can contribute.
Another thing I would add to that is when you're developing, test out your software in Flatpak as well. We're going to be increasing the number of KDE apps that are shipped as Flatpaks, and so making sure that things work properly in a Flatpak, and just especially in a sandboxed environment and with an immutable USR. Making sure that your software works like that will help KDE Linux. It will also help lots of other people too, because there are other immutable distros and Flatpak is used elsewhere. So just getting out of the habit of assuming that all the users will be using software on like a traditional Linux distro is also very helpful.
Indeed.
Have you maybe tested if it is possible to installation is the volume name, because I probably don't care about anything. I could just replace
that. Yeah. So the question was if I already have a Fedora set up with Btrfs, can I install KDE Linux over it whilst preserving the Btrfs, I guess? So replace the base system, but keep your data. Haven't tried it. Probably not. But I mean, that's sort of like do-it-yourself territory, right? If you want to, you can totally make things work out. Like you can. So one of the beauties of having an immutable system is you can take the live image, as it were, put it in a partition anywhere on your system, and boot into that, right? And that will basically be an installation.
I'm about to say you should try it and see if it explodes.
Uh,
Me again, and containers. So you said it's no X11 anymore, but only Wayland, right? I don't have experience myself with Wayland yet. So if I run X on the host and I have an X application in a container, I can run it and display the window on the host. You already know where I'm going? Yeah, so the thing is, if in the container I would have Wayland, would there be a way to display this on a host X11 or on a host Wayland?
Yeah. So there's still X11 on the host, it's just in the form of X Wayland, which is a Wayland client that is X.
So that's a question from the chat. Can one run KDE Linux components, say Plasma with all dependencies, on top of existing operating system as portable services or something?
Probably. I haven't tried it. There's no reason why it shouldn't work. Because like a portable service is essentially just a container in its own right, so probably could be used that way as well. Like that kind of goes back to the Docker question of if we do have Docker or Podman images, it's kind of the same system.
So if your installer image and the image that gets deployed to disk are the same immutable image, have you considered making the installing experience so that you do your initial setup in the live image and then completely skip the whole dance of install, reboot, start over, but instead you just take whatever the state is of what you booted into live and then copy that into the ROFS that you in the end reboot into?
It's a good idea. I haven't considered that. There are some technical differences between how they are booted, though. So the live session is actually fully mutable through overlays. So the entire root file system is overlaid. Whereas on the host system, you actually get a btrfs and then store persistent data into the btrfs rather than an overlay.
Would it eventually be possible to have like different editions, like one for big screen or mobile?
Yes. So it's very much on our mind, having different editions. There's also going to be different editions of like quality assurance. So like what we have right now is Git builds. We obviously don't want regular users to end up using Git builds. Ideally they could, but you know, in practice they can't because things sometimes break. So there's going to be different quality editions, and in addition to that, we can of course have different user experience editions. Yeah.
Hello. So if you have some kind of software you want to install, like let's say Dolphin or some kind of IDE or Steam, maybe, that has to, well, I think Steam had some kind of Flatpak, but it's unofficial. How do you install those software on bananas?
It depends a bit on the software. So, I mean, the simplest answer is do whatever the software tells you to do. Sometimes that is installing an RPM or a deb, which obviously is not going to work, so you have to get creative. If the software is available as a snap or as a Flatpak or as a Nix or as a homebrew recipe thingamajigs, then obviously you can use those. Flatpak ideally would be the solution for everything. That's kind of where we are trying to steer the conversations.
Straight back.
security checks the concept of containers to get the whole thing running?
Yeah. So there's a fundamental problem right now with Flatpaks is that some applications do not work with sandboxing. They don't make sense in sandboxing, like HTOP or TOP, for example, right? They don't make sense. They need to view your actual procfs, not a sandbox version. And Banana Pack sort of breaks out of that. Banana Pack takes the fully assembled file tree, starts applications in there, but they are only constrained in terms of their root file system. So they view the world as they perceive it, right? So you have your /app where the application lives and the user, which is the Flatpak runtime, but everything else is the host. So yeah, breaking out of the sandbox essentially is what Banana Pack is about.
Cool. Do we have any more questions? Go on then.
So is Banana Pack something that you would at some point consider upstreaming if the experiment works out?
Yes, definitely. Ideally, so the problem is a bit that Flatpak is written in C and I don't like C. So I think most of us don't like C, that's why we are C++ programmers. But so I've written it in Rust. It's a proof of concept, but if the concept works out, then I think it's absolutely necessary to move this upstream and discuss with the Flatpak developers how can we actually achieve this within the confines of Flatpak.
Any more? Excellent. Thank you very much. I have 10 minutes before the next talk.